Part 50. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 514. The third update is here. Look, what are you looking at? Luan Dejiang was a little confused by Chu Xia's look, so he reached out and touched his cheek. I don't have flowers on my face. Chu Xia said tisk tisk twice. Dejiang, I can't tell, you are really charming. You can be attracted by a little girl even if you take a train. No, I have to write a report to my sister-in-law and let her rest assured. You are my daughter-in-law, it's definitely not a problem. It's nothing. Luan Dejiang wanted to say nonsense, but as he spoke, he realized that today was different from the past, and he couldn't be as careless as before. Luo Xiaoxian deliberately teased him, what is the pot out of oil? Could it be that they ran out of oil in the pot and you helped to get it? No, there is no place to sell oil on the train, right? She looked at Chu Xia seriously as she spoke. Xia, is there no gas cellar on the train? I don't know, I haven't bought it before. Chu Xia shook her head. Dejiang should still know about this, you should ask Dejiang. Luan Dejiang knew that the two of them were teasing him on purpose, so he simply shut his mouth and said nothing. Luo Xiaoxian tooted twice. Chu Xia, did you see that they don't want to talk to us anymore when they have someone they like? Chu Xia looked at Luan Dejiang seriously and nodded. Yes, I can see it. Luo Xiaoxian sighed with emotion. You value sex over friends. Chu Xia quickly corrected him. He values sex over his sister. We are his sisters. After thinking about it, Luo Xiaoxian nodded. That's right, I can't even see my sister. As for my friend, I can't even see her. Oh. When we get married, we probably won't know each other anymore. Chu Xia held her head in pain. It doesn't matter if you don't know us, but don't forget to know my sister-in-law and uncle. Probably not. Who knows? Being disturbed by the singing and arguing between the two, Luan Dejiang sighed. Li Zhenzhen and I really have nothing to do with each other. I just helped her and her grandma lift things up, and then I helped with my second uncle. Put it on the luggage rack. I didn't talk to her much along the way, but when I was about to get off the bus, she said something to me. Her grandma was not happy and pinched her hard. Got off the train. She saw that we had a lot of stuff, so she took the initiative to ask for help. Her grandma was not happy, and her brother was not happy either, so we left, and you will know what happened next. That only shows that Dejiang has endless charm. He just helped put the luggage and he was liked. Chu Xia looked him up and down and praised. I didn't expect Dejiang to be so good looking. He used to be so good looking. I never noticed, especially when I smile, those big white teeth. They are really eye-catching, no wonder it makes people fascinated. Yes. Dejiang is really good looking now. Luo Xiaoxian reached out and patted Luan Dejiang on the shoulder. Dejiang. Sister, I remind you, don't be too hasty to make a marriage decision. With skin like yours, you are definitely in demand. After you have been a soldier for a while, your leaders and comrades may introduce their daughters, nieces, and sisters to you. Then, you can make a good choice, pick the best looking one, the most capable one, the most obedient one, the one who can help you the most, get married, take over your sister-in-law and uncle, and no longer be angry with your grandma. Xiaoxian, Luo Hunky glared at her sister with disapproval. You can't teach Dejiang a bad lesson like this. When looking for a wife, you have to find someone you like, someone who can talk well, someone who is considerate, good-looking, and capable. It's easy to look down on others, but of course I'm obedient. As for whether I can help or not, that's hard to say. In the words of later generations, Luo Hunky is a somewhat idealistic man. Originally, he was a bit of a bullseye. After coming out of the bullseye, he sees things much more clearly than before, and he has obviously become a popular type. Brother Hunky is right, I listened to Brother Hunky. After finally getting the support of the same sex, Luan Daejeong quickly expressed his stance. Speaking of it, he and Luo Hunky have similar personalities. They both don't talk much, but he is better than Luo Hunky. The red flag is soft and easy to talk to. In terms of the ideal candidate to be a husband, there is no way to say who is more suitable. Luo Hunky has identified one person. As long as you live well with him, he will never change his heart. Luan Daejeong, I can't tell for the time being, but in terms of feeling, he is similar to Luo Hunky, but he has a gentler personality than Luo Hunky and will be gentler to girls, but similarly, he will not be as decisive as Luo Hunky when it comes to rejection. Listening to the chattering of several people sitting in the back, Jing Zhe couldn't hold back the smile on his face. Being with a child with such a personality, he felt that he was getting younger. Regarding Luan Daejeong's arrival, Chu Xia was both happy and conflicted. She knew that in that time and space, the war would break out a year and a half later, so if Luan Daejeong became a soldier now, he would most likely go to the battlefield. Of course, protecting the home and country is the duty of a soldier and an obligation that every active soldier must fulfill, but why is she still worried? Daejeong, you really want to be a soldier, right? Chu Xia looked at Luan Daejeong seriously and asked. Of course, is it? Luan Daejeong looked at Chu Xia with some worry. Am I unable to become a soldier? If not, it's okay. I'll wait for the military inspection next year. Chu Xia shook her head. No, I just want to ask you, suppose you know that you become a soldier and may go to the front line to fight, would you be willing? Is there going to be a war? Luan Daejeong's voice unconsciously rose a lot. Keep your voice down, Luo Zioxian poked him. Chu Xia means, let you assume, think about it, your enlistment as a soldier was arranged for you by Commander Zhou. If you can't do it by then, whose person is it so embarrassing? In order to take precautions in the future, Chu Xia took the test on you in advance. If you really want to be a soldier, are not afraid of life and death, and have no regrets, she will let you go. If you become a soldier, she will let you go. The soldiers just want to have enough food and find a place to live comfortably, so I advise you to go back. Of course I joined the army to defend the country, and I am not afraid of death, Luan Daejeong said and looked at Luo Hunky. Hunky, you think so too, don't you? Yes, Luo Hunky sighed. I want to be a soldier just to protect the security of the country and the safety of the people. Otherwise, why would I become a soldier? Luan Daejeong looked at him in confusion. Then why are you sighing? My foot is injured. Otherwise, I would have been able to go with you on this mission. Luo Hunky shook his head with regret. Unfortunately, it's useless to think about anything now. I think you're okay when you walk, Luan Daejeong said and was about to take off Luo Hunky's socks. You can't see it this way. Luo Hunky quickly retracted his feet. The outside is all healed, it's the inside that's the bones were cracked and are almost healed now, but at that time, I couldn't move. Luan Daejeong breathed a sigh of relief. So that's it? I'm worried that Brother Hunky won't be able to be a soldier in the future. I'm still looking forward to joining the army with him. By the way, brother, have you seen Zhang Dongzi? I heard that he is also here with us. Be a soldier. I've never seen it. Luo Hunky shook his head. With so many people in the army, it would be difficult to see them if they were not divided into a company. Besides, we basically can't go to the recruit company. Don't worry, you will. If my son comes to join the army, he should be assigned to the same company as him, and we can see him then. I don't want to be in the same company with him. Luan Daejeong curled his lips. After he joined the army, he stopped talking to me and Wang Lin, as if it was embarrassing to know us. Wang Lin was envious when I came, but I told him that if I get along well in the future, I will definitely recruit him, unlike Zhang Dongzi, who is too snobbish. You will be in the same company as him. Chu Xia deliberately poured cold water on him, because originally your quota was to be in the same batch as him, and there will be no more recruits this year. Therefore, if you join the army now, you can only be with him. If we are in the same company, we might still be in the same squad." After a moment of silence, Luan Daejiang said in a low voice, "Just in time, he and I are competing to see who is better, to see who looks down on the other. If he treats you well because you join the army, what will you do?" Luo Xiaoxian asked a very likely question. "Then I won't pay attention to him." Wang Lin and I agreed not to pay attention to him. "I just don't pay attention to him. No matter what he says, I won't pay attention to him." After a series of twists and turns, Chu Xia discovered that Daejiang Tongzi is actually related to Daejiang Tongzi. Luo Hunky really looks alike, one is the person he likes and the other is his brother. The car stopped at the door of Zhou's house. MRS Zhou, Zhou Shanping, Zhou Gangping, Zhou Zikang, Liang Xiaohong, Yu Tao and others rushed out after hearing the announcement. After a warm exchange of greetings, they entered the Zhou family's house. Chu Xia and Luo Xiaoxian ran straight to Wan Lao's house and had dinner at Zhou's house. They were going to invite Wan Lao over. Forgetting to bring the key, Chu Xia had to ring the doorbell. It took a while before sister-in-law Yin came to open the door. Her eyes were obviously slightly red and swollen. When she saw Chu Xia and Luo Xiaoxian, she tried hard to smile, but it only became uglier. "Sister-in-law Yin, what's wrong with you?" Chu Xia asked. "The eldest lady is inside," sister-in-law Yin said with red circles. "Miss Ye, if Wan Lao is alone one day, you must help take care of him." Chu Xia heard the meaning of her words and frowned. "Why, sister-in-law Yin wants to withdraw." "It's not that I want to withdraw, it's that the eldest lady said that I followed Wan Lao to marry him and seize his family property." "How could I mean it? She said that if I didn't mean it, I should leave immediately." Sighing heavily, sister-in-law Yin smiled bitterly. "It just so happens that my uncle's nephew also wants me to go back and help take care of the children, so I'll go. When I get old, I'll have to rely on him. First marriage then love." Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 515. One update arrived. "Sister-in-law Yin, who is outside? Why don't you come in and talk?" The slightly hoarse female voice revealed a hint of impatience. Aunt Yin looked at Chu Xia and Luo Xiaoxian with a wry smile. "Do you want to go in?" Of course. Chu Xia grabbed Luo Xiaoxian, who was a little shaken. "Let's go in with me." Turning to look at the people who came in, Wan Yuqian frowned visibly. "Hello, Aunt Wan, after all, she is Mr. Wan's biological daughter." Chu Xia smiled politely at her and said hello, then looked at Mr. Wan with a smile. "Grandpa, my father and my mother are here. Uncle Gangshun and Aunt Fat are also here." "Hello, Grandpa." Wan Luo Xiaoxian also greeted, but she automatically ignored Wan Yuqian. She was not the god-granddaughter of Mr. Wan anyway, so she didn't bother to talk to him. Hearing that Lin Baohe, Zhao Yulan and others were coming, Mr. Wan, who had a somewhat gloomy look on his face, immediately beamed with joy. Finally here, finally here. Dad, I am your biological daughter. Is this jealous?" Chu Xia glanced at Wan Yuqian, who looked even uglier than before, and curled her lips secretly. She was so selfish if she didn't treat her father well and didn't let him find compensation elsewhere. "You mean, you know that I am your biological father?" Mr. Wan looked at his daughter with a calm face, his eyes full of disappointment. "I thought you didn't know." "Dad, I don't want to quarrel with you in front of outsiders." "Dad, you are not young anymore. Why do you have to do things that make your relatives angry and your enemies happy?" Wan Yuqian said and stood up. "What should I say? I've said it all, Dad, you can do whatever you want. If you really think you will be happier without me as your daughter, then I won't say anything." Bang! The door slams hard. Chu Xia was so surprised that she shivered reflexively, and she looked at Mr. Wan with some worry. I'm fine, I've already adapted to it. Mr. Wan smiled and pointed to the seat opposite him. Sit down and chat with Grandpa for a few words before going over. Chu Xia and Luo Xiaoxian sat opposite the old man, deliberately avoiding the spot where Wan Yuqian was sitting just now. Aunt Wan is here, asking you to help negotiate with Grandpa Long again. Someone has to start the topic first, so Chu Xia took the initiative to ask. Not asking about this matter really made it seem like she had something in mind. In fact, she was quite puzzled. As far as she knew, Wan Yuqian's husband and his family supported the Long family, but their level was not high. At that time, it made sense to want Mr. Wan to report to Mr. Long for support, but later, it was not because they felt unwelcome. Was he reused and transferred to the Huang family? Since he has already joined the Huang family. I also came to Wan Lao for help, or, are you trying to get Wan Lao to support the Huang family? But that's not of much use. Wan Lao's biggest reliance is Mr. Long. If he leaves Mr. Long, what else can you do to help them? In short, she was puzzled. Mr. Wan sighed. What do you think will happen to the wallflower? I'm sure I don't want to be seen by anyone. Luo Xiaoxian rushed to answer. This is the situation now. Qian Yubeing has been beaten to the end, and Qian Yubeing's father Qian Hungmin has also been hung up. She came to me like an ant on a hot pot. After hearing Mr. Wan say this, Chu Xia understood. It turns out that I want to return to Elder Long's army again. It's so interesting. I think this is just kindergarten kids playing house, and I can go back on my word at any time. Grandpa, have you decided what to do? Yes, Mr. Wan nodded. Listen to Xiaomi's advice and live with your parents in the Zhou family's old house. If she has the ability, she will go to the Zhou family to find me. Everyone knows that she has not interacted with me for so many years. I am a lonely old man. I am willing to live with my godson and his family without anyone saying anything. If she has the nerve to talk about it everywhere, then so be it. I don't care. What Wan Lao means is that he doesn't care about people saying that he only has sex with his granddaughter to gain glory and find someone to support him in old age, nor does he mind that others say that he has sex with his granddaughter just to join the Zhou family. Anyway, as long as he moves to the Zhou family, he will be clearly labeled as a Zhou family from then on. If anything happens to the Zhou family in the future, he will never be able to escape his involvement. The reason why he did this was that on the one hand he was heartbroken by his daughter, and on the other hand he sincerely regarded Chu Xia's family as his closest relatives, and from then on, he was tied to everyone by the same rope. Both the Zhou family and the Lin family definitely welcome his addition with both hands. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that Mr. Long now has the absolute advantage. Although the political arena is changing rapidly, the foundation was definitely not built in a day. Moreover, they can no longer be neutrals, so it is better to stand more clearly. Chu Daoer was able to understand these things clearly in Chu Xia, and she was very grateful to Mr. Wan, but Luo Xiaoxian couldn't understand it. In her opinion, Mr. Wan had taken a huge advantage, so she waved her little paw and said proudly, "Wan Grandpa, if I can stay here in the future, I will take care of you in your old age together with Chu Xia. Don't worry, with us here, you will never be wronged." Okay, okay. Mr. Wan smiled happily. It seemed that he had forgotten the depression just now, but in fact, is it really possible? After all, she is her biological daughter. How could she really let her go just because she said she would? If it weren't for his daughter's good, if he didn't know her too well, he wouldn't do this. Only by letting her stop the idea of going astray can he truly reflect and live a down-to-earth life. Of course he wants to persuade his daughter, but after so many years, how can he not understand his position in the other person's heart? It's okay if he doesn't persuade her. The more she persuades her, the more mysterious she becomes. She can't afford to offend her, so just hide. I hope this method will work. If her daughter still hasn't changed after this incident, It can only be said that her daughter is hopeless. After thinking about all this, Mr. Wan looked at sister-in-law Yin, who was sitting aside with her head down. Xiao Yin, I have decided. Do you want to go to Joe's house with me? Sister-in-law Yin was a little hesitant. In her heart, she wanted to go, but if she went to Joe's house, she would be living with her employer. Is this really good? But if she didn't go to Joe's house and ask Mr. Wan to rearrange her job, she would be embarrassed. Otherwise, she would have to go to her uncle's house to help her eldest cousin's son take care of the children. It was precisely because of the bad relationship between the niece's wife and her eldest cousin that the nephew wanted to ask her for help. If she really went, she would be caught in the middle and suffer. After thinking about it, she really couldn't make a decision. You haven't been working with me for more than a day or two. You know my temper. If you have any troubles, just speak up and don't hesitate, Wan Lao said. Sister-in-law Yin told Wan Lao all her doubts. Chu Xia smiled and answered, Sister-in-law Yin, you are thinking too much. You didn't speak just now. I thought you wanted to help your nephew take care of the baby, so you were embarrassed to refuse Grandpa. If you are worried about the issue of living under someone else's roof, you should not meeting. Although I haven't been married to the Zhou family for too long, I still know their character well. If you come over, my mother-in-law's family will only become closer to you. I feel that you don't treat them as outsiders. If you don't believe me, you can move there and test it for a while. Sister-in-law Yin looked at Wan Lao hesitantly, and Wan Lao nodded at her. You have known Chu Xia for only a day. You should know that this child will not tell lies. I'll move with Wan Lao. She no longer had any worries and made up her mind. Mrs. Yin's expression became visibly relaxed. Let's go there together to have fun, Chu Xia said, reaching out to pull Mrs. Yin. Don't stay here by yourself, so as not to keep thinking. Sister-in-law Yin hesitated a little. She felt that following her was a bit like rubbing her nose in her face. Go ahead, Wan Lao said as he walked out. I've already thought about it. What's wrong with you? A group of people walked into the gate of Joe's house and heard a lot of laughter. The joyful atmosphere is the most contagious. The little anxiety in Mrs. Yin's heart disappeared without a trace in the laughter. Uncle Wan. As soon as they entered the door, Mr. Wan was still looking around, but Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan had already hurried over to greet them, with excited smiles on their faces. It's finally here, Mr. Wan held the couple's hands with excitement on his face. Over the years, they were the only ones who had given him the warmth of home. Hello, Sister Yin. After getting close to Mr. Wan, Zhao Yulan hugged Sister Yin, and then pulled the fat ant who had already come to her side to introduce the two parties. Hello, Sister Yin. The fat ant is an enthusiastic person. Even though it was her first time to meet her, she still hugged Sister Yin tightly like Zhao Yulan. I have heard Yulan say a long time ago that you are a teacher, and I am the most. I admire cultural people, and I admire teachers the most. Luo Xiaoxian lowered her head and rolled her eyes quietly. When did her mother admire the teacher the most? Luan Dejiang and Luo Hunky sat restrainedly in the corner, looking at the room full of people, feeling like they couldn't breathe easily. Chu Xia noticed their discomfort and walked over. Dejiang, why are you shaking? Luan Dejiang's legs were shaking like they were sifting chaff. Chu Xia looked at him funny. Weren't you quite calm when you came here last time? Why are you so bearish today? It hurts so much. Luan Dejiang pointed to Luo Hunky's paw, tightly grasping his arm, gasping and speechless. Hey, let go. Chu Xia reached out and poked Luo Hunky's paw on Luan Dejiang's arm. With your current strength, Dejiang's arm will be broken if you grab it again. Call. After being released, Luan Dejiang let out a long sigh of relief. You won't let him go? Chu Xia looked at him speechlessly. If I don't come over, are you going to endure it forever? I want to speak, but it hurts so much that I can't speak. When you came here just now, He obviously relaxed a little. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to answer me even if I wanted to. Luan Daejeong rolled up his sleeves as he spoke. The deep purple finger marks made Chu Xia's scalp numb. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 516. Second update. Luo Hunky came back to his senses and looked at the finger marks on Luan Daejeong's arm with a look of shock on his face. Did you ask me to pinch it? What do you think? Luan Daejeong was about to cry. Fortunately, there were witnesses, otherwise he would have died unjustly. Humph, he will practice hard later and make Luo Hunky's arms look like this. Sorry, Luo Hunky quickly apologized. I was so nervous that I thought I was grabbing the back of the sofa. How big of an enemy is this to the back of the sofa? The question is, how thick are Luan Daejeong's arms? How rough is the sand backrest? Chu Xia looked at Luo Hunky speechlessly, really not knowing what to say. Luo Zioxian came over, just in time to hear the last note, and forcefully rolled up Luan Daejeong's sleeves to take a look. She couldn't help but click her tongue. Brother, you are worried that Daejeong will join the army and steal your title, so you deliberately want to cut off his arms so that he can't become a soldier. Luo Hunky rolled his eyes at his sister and said nothing. He was already nervous enough, but his sister still came to tease him. Really? Also, is he the biological child of his parents? After arriving at Joe's house and throwing him away, his parents ignored him. Didn't they say they wanted to see Zhang Ernie? Why hasn't Zhang Ernie been mentioned yet? Missing CAO. When CAO arrived, the fat ant came over with a smile, first pulled Chu Xia to talk affectionately, then pulled her daughter to scold her a few times, and then turned to her son, Hunky, can we see Ernie tomorrow? Mom, I've already asked for leave today. I can't ask for leave again tomorrow. Ernie will also go to work tomorrow. Let's talk about it in a few days. She was angry. Luo Hunky refused without thinking. Then let's go to the army to see you. The fat ant reached out and slapped her son on the head. You have become a soldier. Are you separated from your parents? Bear boy, if you didn't eat my milk, would you have grown so big? Now you are still with me, be careful. I will take off my shoes and slap you. Mother. Luo Hunky looked at the fat ant in protest. There are so many people here, mother, don't hit me like this. The main thing is, don't embarrass Chu Xia. This is Chu Xia's husband's family. Oh. The fat ant looked at her son in surprise. The sun is out in the west, and you actually think about early summer? Tisk tisk. The army is really an educator. My son can actually change his gender. Mom. Luo Hunky glared at the fat ant with dissatisfaction. When you get back to where we live, you can say whatever you want to me. I'm sure you won't be in a hurry. Now, please stop teasing me, okay? No. With so many people coming to the house, Ying'er felt a little scared for no reason. Hiding in her room and never coming out, Chu Xia looked around and didn't find her, so she quietly left Fat Ant and went to Ying'er's room. The little girl was sitting on the bed wiping her tears when she saw Chu Xia coming in. He quickly forced out a smile and said, "Little Ant. What's wrong with Ying'er?" Chu Xia sat next to her, trying to get her to his side, but the result was. After tugging twice, it didn't move, so he looked at her with a surprised look on his face. It's only been a few days, and I've gained so much weight. I can't even lift it. I'm not fat, the little girl immediately protested, because Chu Xia had told her that girls would not look good if they were too fat, and they would not look good if they were too thin. Now she is extremely repulsive to both fat and thin. Okay, Ying'er isn't fat, It's because my aunt is blinded by it. Chusia quickly coaxed her, can you tell your aunt now why you hid and cried? I also want to have parents, like my uncle and aunt, like the kids in the class. Sniffing, Ying'er looked at Chusia with a grieved face, am I too disobedient? My parents don't want me. It's okay, Ying'er is obedient. It's because they don't understand how good Ying'er is. In the future, they will regret not taking good care of Ying'er. Little aunt, didn't you lie to me? The child asked with wet eyes full of hope. Of course I won't lie to you. When has my aunt ever lied to you? Chusia said, reaching out to hook up with her, let's believe it. Yeah, the little girl nodded, little aunt, let me tell you a secret. The day before yesterday, my bad grandma came to see me. She said a lot of bad things about my little aunt, and even asked me to fight against my little aunt. In order not to let her go, she nagged me and agreed, but I didn't want to help her at all. Ying'er is such a good child. Chusia kissed her on the forehead and pulled her out of bed. Can you go out to play with your aunt now? Okay, the little girl happily got out of bed and put on her shoes. She felt a little embarrassed when she walked to the door. Little aunt, are my eyes swollen? Of course not. Chusia smiled and rubbed her head. She's not that big, but she knows a lot. Ying'er pursed her lips and hummed, I'm not stupid. My eyes will swell when I cry. I've known that since I was 3 years old. Chusia has a black streak on her head. Does the little girl mean that she is stupid? Okay, just be stupid. Anyway, she can't remember what happened when she was 3 years old. This dinner was a lively one for the whole family. Even Luo Hunky, who was extremely nervous and trembling at first, was able to chat freely with Josei Kang in the end. The one who felt most uncomfortable was Luan Daejiang. He had just arrived in the city and didn't know much about the military. He couldn't speak well about rural affairs either. He simply acted like a puppet and ate whatever he was told. He drank as much as he wanted, but the consequence was that when he went back to sleep, he vomited because he was too full. In the evening, Zhao Yulan, Lin Baohe, Fat Aunt Luo Gangshun and others were arranged to live in the Zhou family's old house. The reason why they were not kept in the compound was to make them feel that this was their home from this night on. In early summer, they were allowed to go to the old house to live with their parents. The group first went to Mr. Wan's house to help Mr. Wan pack simple luggage, and then went to the Zhou family's old house together. A few months later, when they lived in the Zhou family's old house again, everyone felt a little emotional. The fat aunt even pulled Zhao Yulan aside and asked in a low voice, wouldn't she be caught this time? Zhao Yulan was so angry that she glared at her and was too lazy to talk to her. Luo Hunky and Luo Xiaoxian also took leave to live together. Together with Lin Wenbin, there were 5 juniors in total, so they all played poker together. Mr. Wan and Lin Baohe and his wife, Luo Gangshun, were drinking tea and reminiscing about old times. Sister-in-law Yin and Wu Ma, the nanny in charge of Josei's health work, sat and chatted together. Under the warm lights, we feel each other's presence, and everyone's heart is warm. Since Zhao Yulan, Lin Baohe, and others came here, they have been living in the old house and in the compound day by day in early summer. The days are dull and warm. Mr. Liang would not come to 401 until after the Chinese New Year. Therefore, although Chusia was informed that she would be Mr. Liang's assistant, she still followed Song Xiao during this period of time before the year. The days moved forward day by day, and in a blink of an eye, it was the 16th day of the 12th lunar month. This day was the wedding day of Zhou Shanping and Wang Lei. Weddings in this era are not like those in later generations, which require wedding cars and drums. Especially for people like Zhou Shanping and Wang Lei, the certificate has long been obtained. It is nothing more than setting a date, having a meal together as a family, and then being lively. The two of them can move their belongings together and live openly. Originally, according to their wishes, they could go back to their respective homes after dinner and live their own lives, but the juniors were not willing to spare them. As soon as 9 o'clock passed, a group of juniors rushed upstairs. After the marriage, Zhou Shanping and Wang Lei would live in the house shared by Zhou Shan equally, but for the first 3 days of the wedding, they would live in the compound. Wang Lei's face turned red when she saw the large group of people that suddenly came in. She was in her 40s, and it felt like being harassed in the bridal chamber. "Third aunt, who is your matchmaker?" Chu Xia spoke first. "You." "Who?" Chu Xia leaned forward. "I can't hear clearly." "The matchmaker is Lin Chuxia." "This is more. Feeling nauseated, Chu Xia quickly walked away after saying this. Thinking that she seemed to have eaten a lot of greasy things at night, she hurriedly went to find tea to drink. Mrs. Zhou and Lin Yangqiu and Liang Xiaohong were sitting in the hall chatting. When Chu Xia ran down in a gust of wind, Lin Yangqiu glared at her and said, "Be careful, don't fall." No holding back waves of discomfort, Chu Xia moved to the table in a few steps, poured herself a cup of tea and drank it in one gulp. After drinking a glass of water, she sighed happily. "It really feels much better." "What's wrong?" Lin Yangqiu looked at her worriedly. "You don't look well. Are you feeling uncomfortable somewhere?" "I ate too much greasy food at night, and it's a bit disgusting." Chu Xia told the truth. Noticing the eyes of her mother-in-law and the old woman staring at her belly, she waved her hands repeatedly. "Don't think too much, really don't think too much. I just don't. If you eat well, you definitely don't eat well." Back at the old house in the evening, Chu Xia told this matter as a joke to Zhao Yulan. Unexpectedly, Zhao Yulan sighed. "Xia, after Xiaomi comes back, you have to hurry up. The Zhou family is small, your mother-in-law, and how can you not hope that your belly will be successful?" "Mom," Chu Xia's face turned red. "How old am I? I'm about to give birth to a child." "Why, it won't be fully developed until I'm 20, right? Even if you are responsible for your child, you shouldn't give birth now." "Mom, do you think it is better to have a sick and weak child or a healthy child? Don't make excuses. People in the past got married at the age of 13 or 4, and the children they gave birth to were not sick or weak." Zhao Yulan glared at her daughter and lowered her voice and warned, "Don't turn a deaf ear to what I said. Do you hear me?" "I heard that." Chu Xia hurriedly ran out of my mother's room and went to play with Aunt Yin and Wan Lao. There was still no pressure with them. Seeing that the new year is coming, everyone's hearts are in a state of excitement. Those who go home during the holidays will count the days with their fingers. In early summer, there is no need to count, but every time I go home, I see that there are more rare things in the same color. If it is red, you will miss someone in your heart. He said that he came back during the Chinese New Year. Can he really come back? She hadn't received a letter from him in half a month, and she was really worried. She knew that with Zhou Mikang's character, it would be impossible not to write to her unless there were special circumstances. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 517. A long time ago, Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan planned to spend this year with their daughter in City A. However, as soon as they entered the 12th lunar month, Grandpa Lin called the couple and told them to return to the capital this year to celebrate the new year and participate in worship ancestors. Grandpa Lin took Lin Baohe to worship at the Lin family's grave. However, worshipping ancestors during the new year is fundamentally different from worshipping at ordinary times. Not only the direct line, but also the whole Lin family must participate. So this New Year ceremony is worshipping ancestors for the first time means revealing one's identity to everyone. The couple understood the importance of this matter and agreed to Grandpa Lin to spend the New Year in City A and rush to the capital on the 28th of the 12th lunar month. But now it's almost New Year's Eve, and there's no news about Zhou Mikang. As a biological father and mother, how can I not see what's on my daughter's mind? On the 22nd day of the 12th lunar month, in the early summer, I stayed at the Zhou family's old house to accompany my parents and Mr. Wan. After dinner, Lin Baohe winked at Zhao Yulan and went to chat with Mr. Wan. Zhao Yulan sat next to her daughter, hesitated, and said, Xia, if Xiaomi doesn't come back, your father and I will stay in City A to celebrate the New Year with you. Mom, if you and Dad want to stay with me for the New Year in the future, I definitely agree with it, but this time, I still don't want to. I have already promised Grandpa, don't let him be too disappointed, Chu Xia said while pulling Zhao Yulan playing with her fingers. My mother-in-law and mother-in-law have seen what they did to me. It's okay. Even if Zhou Mixang can't come back, I won't feel aggrieved at the Zhou family's New Year. You kid, do you think you and your mother need to be sloppy? Zhao Yulan sighed, your mother and your father can't see it. You pretend to be fine. But you are always worried about Xiaomi, right? No news. It's inevitable to worry, but he's not going to fight. Nothing will happen, Mom, I'm just worried, Chu Xia said with a smile. Mom, you should be happy, this shows that I have deep feelings for him. Only then can you live a good life, right? Is it really okay if your father and mother are not with you? It really works. Hey, Zhao Yulan sighed again, you can't help your mother when you are older. Forget it, since you can't help your mother can let you do what you say. That's what mother said. Chu Xia had a dark line. Her mother and Mr. Wan's MRSian had been together for a long time, and their speaking skills were indeed different. What mother said is true. You are the life of mother and father. As long as you are happy, we can do whatever we want, Zhao Yulan said and held her daughter in her arms. He stroked her head and said, your father and I are not stupid. Although the Zhou family treats you well and Xiaomi treats you well. However, if you have a strong mother-in-law, you will be able to stand up in your husband's family all your life. Come. Your father and I don't mind being farmers or anything else. But, for you, we must obtain the approval of everyone in the Lin family in Beijing. Mom. Chu Xia interrupted Zhao Yulan, I don't need my father and mother to cater to anyone for my sake. My uncle's family is sincere to us, and that's enough. Don't pay attention to other side relatives whether you agree or disagree with them. If you really care about these people, they will make fun of you. If my parents look at other people's faces for me, then I will definitely be unhappy. Mom, do you want me to be happy, or do you want me to be unhappy? Is this child just talking nonsense? Zhao Yulan pinched her daughter's little nose and smiled helplessly. Okay, mother, I will listen to you. We will be nice to anyone who treats us well. We will also treat those who don't care about us. Just ignore them, okay? This was what Chu Xia said to Zhao Yulan when she returned to the capital to recognize her relatives. Now hearing Zhao Yulan repeat it exactly, Chu Xia immediately smiled and said, Mom, you have a really good memory. Yes, that's how it should be, as long as my father and mother do this, I will be very happy. When he went back to his room to sleep at night, Lin Baohe asked Zhao Yulan the result of the conversation with his daughter. Zhao Yulan sighed, my daughter asked us to go to Lin's house to celebrate the New Year. She said that this is a big deal for you. After this year, she won't interfere wherever we want to celebrate the New Year. Our daughter is really sensible. Lin Baohe also sighed, how could we have imagined that this child Xia could be so successful? Not to mention the children in our village, even the children in the city cannot compare to our Xia. That's right, Zhao Yulan nodded in agreement, this shows that our Xia had a late awakening, but when he did, he immediately surpassed others. Well, that's the truth. Lin Baohe thought for a while and said, after the New Year, let's go back to our hometown to give some New Year's goods to our parents. The parents he was talking about were of course Zhao Yulan's parents. Zhao Yulan's eyebrows and eyes were filled with smiles. I can't help you remember this, my parents' love for you was not in vain. As he said this, he took out a handkerchief bag from the small box on the bedside, opened it layer by layer, and opened it all. It's brand new money and food stamps. The couple earned their income by pasting paper boxes and sewing dolls. Although they lived here, they refused to rely on the Joe family for everything, just like in the countryside, where they had to get up early and go to bed late every day. At first, Mrs. Joe and Lin Yang advised them to take a rest, but later, they simply came over to help them if they had nothing to do, saying that they were bored at home, so why not come and chat? Of course Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe were embarrassed. It was Mr. Wan who advised them not to take it too seriously. This way of connecting with each other is better than anything else. Facts have proved that, as Mr. Wan said, through this method, everyone is becoming more and more comfortable together. It is no longer like the initial situation where they looked harmonious, but in fact they were separated by a layer of veil. After calculating the money in their hands, they used part of it for expenses during the Chinese New Year and the second half of the New Year. The rest of the couple planned to buy all adult goods. In addition to the ones for the Zhao family, some are also prepared for the Luo Gangshun family and Lin Baojuan family. Dai Jiang is now a new soldier and can't help the family. Come to think of it, life in Lin Baojuan's family is not very good. Although they are no longer related by blood, the closeness cannot be changed. It's the new year, and everywhere there is a new year atmosphere. The most direct impact is that everyone seems to be in a better mood all of a sudden. Colleagues who are not usually close to each other greet each other happily. All the way to the office, Chu Xia lay weakly on the table. What's wrong? Wang Jing, who arrived before her, looked at her suspiciously. Who made you angry so early in the morning? Look at how tired you are. Everyone is too enthusiastic, and I must be enthusiastic too. My face is frozen when I smile, Chu Xia said while rubbing her cheeks vigorously. I am a junior, and I have to greet everyone I meet. Oh my God, if I celebrate the new year every day, I will just die. Bah! 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 Wang Jing spat several times and slapped Chu Xia. In the new year, you are not allowed to say such unlucky words. Stand up quickly and spit on the ground. Don't want. Hurry up, are you okay? Don't want. Lin Chuxia. Okay, bah, that's not enough. Chu Xia had no choice but to stand up, imitate Wang Jing, and bah 3 times to the floor. Crazy, Yamiru, who was passing by the door, curled her lips and joked when she saw this scene. She deliberately turned up the volume, obviously just to let Chu Xia and Wang Jing hear it. You're crazy, Chu Xia rolled her eyes at the air outside the door. Since last month, Yamiru has come to 401 to be Director Wang's apprentice, but she has become a mortal enemy again. Because Director Huang hated Wang Lei for marrying Zhou Shanping, he hated her all the same. Now it's good that Yamiru became his apprentice, which happened to be the reason why the wolf and the wolf were embarrassed. Raped. Because she was a pregnant woman, Yamiru never concealed her disgust for her in front of Chu Xia. Of course, Chu Xia also never concealed her disgust for Yamiru. The difference was that she had to restrain herself a little, just in case Yamiru there was something wrong with that lump of meat in her belly, and it would be really disgusting for her to be left to have it again. Therefore, every time Yamiru made harsh words, she would pretend not to hear her. When she was really angry, she would comfort herself. A pregnant woman without her husband has an internal secretion disorder. Why should she be the same as her? Yes, she is really a lunatic. She has no man left, but she still insists on giving birth to a child. Her belly is already big, and she still insists on being an apprentice. The teacher doesn't want to see her, and she insists on running to class to vomit. Isn't this because your brain is flooded? After being together with Chu Xia for a long time, Wang Jing's speech became more and more like Chu Xia's, and she could speak smoothly even if her brain was wet. Senior sister, that's the right answer. Chong. Wang Jing gave a thumbs up. Chu Xia got up and picked up the thermos to fetch water. We were on a narrow road, so Yamiru unexpectedly also picked up the thermos to fetch water. Help me. Yamiru put the thermos in front of Chusea's feet. I can't bend down easily, so fill it up for me and carry it over. Is your brain sick? Chusea rolled her eyes at her, finished drinking water, turned around and left. Lin Chuxia. Why are you so inhumane? As Yamiru spoke, she stretched out her foot towards Chuxia. Unexpectedly, she would suddenly act like this. Chuxia hurriedly put her foot back and broke into a cold sweat. Are you crazy? Chusea's face turned red with anger. If you don't want the child in your belly anymore, you just go and abort it. Do you need to be so vicious? What do I owe you for letting you pester me endlessly like a debt collector? If you want to save face, stay away from me. Also, I am letting you go, not because I am afraid of you, but for the sake of the child in your belly. I don't want to see you in the same way. There is a limit to human patience. If you mess with me again, you will bear the consequences. Isn't it just asking you to help fetch water? What about that? Yamiru looked at her with an innocent face. Is it difficult to help a pregnant woman? It's not difficult to help pregnant women, but it depends on what kind of pregnant women they are. Director Huang has no one under his command. Are you, a pregnant woman, going to come out to fetch water? Chusea snorted coldly, turned and left. I just want to help the teacher with some work. Yamiru sniffed, picked up the thermos, and stepped forward to get the water. She was already weak, and now she pretended to be like this. The doctors and nurses who were watching the excitement immediately gave her all their sympathy. Some with a strong sense of justice even stepped forward to comfort her and help her get water. Send her back to the office. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 518. One update arrived. Why are you so angry when you come back from getting a pot of water? Seeing someone's bulging face, Wang Jing felt particularly friendly. In her memory, she had never seen her so angry before. Chusea rolled her eyes at Wang Jing. The corners of my mouth are almost grinning from ear to ear. Isn't it funny and happy for me to be angry? No, no, Wang Jing quickly suppressed her smile. I just found that a beauty is still a beauty when she gets angry. Really? Chusea raised her eyebrows proudly. You also said that I am a beauty. A beauty, of course, must be beautiful at all times. Wang Jing has a black hair. She is too experienced. Can she be thicker skinned? By the way, why are you angry? Chusea recounted what had just happened, clenching her fists bitterly. Asshole, if I wasn't afraid that the eggs in her stomach would break, I wouldn't have let her. You also said that there is an egg in her belly. What else can I do now except endure it? Wang Jing moved closer to Chusea and whispered comfort. If you think about it this way, if she is not jealous, unbalanced, how could he be so shameless? If you still can't get rid of your anger, then think further. You have parents who love you, parents-in-law who love you, and a husband who loves you even more. What does she have? Her parents also love her very much. Otherwise, there may be nothing left. After thinking about it, Chusea felt that she was fair. Her parents love her. Wang Jing curled her lips. If they really loved her, they wouldn't have educated her to be so shameless. Chusea really didn't know what to answer. Although it is the fault of a son not to teach his father, but it seems like sometimes it's not absolute, right? For example, the predecessor of her. In early summer a flock of crows flew overhead. She never thought that Yamiru could be so shameless. It was obvious that she was looking for trouble, but she pretended to be a pretty little girl and sued the dean. Regardless of whether she believed it or not, the dean had to investigate this matter. Therefore, when the dean asked her why she didn't help pregnant comrades, she immediately knelt down in anger. Yamiru was so shameless that she knelt down in anger. See her puffing out her mouth without making a sound. Dean Su was funny and angry, so he knocked on the table. Lin Chuxia, I'm asking you a question, please answer. Report to the dean. If it is a normal pregnant woman who has difficulties, of course I will help, but if she is deliberately looking for trouble because she is a pregnant woman, then I'm sorry, I won't help. This gangster. Luo Xiaoqian scratched her cheek anxiously. Although she knew that nothing would happen to her as Chu Xia, she was still anxious seeing how stubborn she was. It didn't matter whether she was the Zhou family's daughter-in-law or not, whether the dean and Lin Yangkai were friends or not. If the impression becomes bad, then the gain is really not worth the loss. Well, care is chaos. At this moment, she forgot that the dean was not stupid. Oh. You're quite angry. Dean Su looked at Luo Xiaoqian with a smile. Xiao Luo, give our comrade Xiao Lin a cup of tea to calm down the anger, otherwise, I'm afraid she will beat me up in a while. Yes, being able to joke meant that he was not angry. Luo Xiaoqian breathed a sigh of relief quietly and went to pour tea. Chu Xia blinked her big eyes and smiled sheepishly. Dean, I'm not targeting you, I'm just angry with Yamiru. If she competes normally, I have nothing to say, but she has to do some crooked things. It's really too much. Disgusting. Dean, I have to give you a vaccination first. If we continue to let her go like this, something will happen sooner or later. Of course, I can't say whether it's her or me. Hey, with a heavy sigh, Dean Su looked at Chu Xia and said, Xiao Lin, if I don't understand your character and am just the dean of 401, have you ever thought about the consequences of speaking like this? After a moment of silence, Chu Xia also said with a serious face, if you don't know me and just talk to me as the dean, you will probably be very dissatisfied with me. Because of my identity, you will let me go. However, I believe that some opportunities overt or covered in the future will not belong to me. In other words, you spoke to me like that because you believed in me, right? Right. Then you just pretend you don't know me now. I'm just the dean. Dean Su pointed at the door, exit, and do it all over again. Let me see how you perform. Although she didn't understand why Dean Su did this, Chu Xia still walked out obediently, knocked on the door twice, and waited until the other party shouted come in before entering the office. When she was about 1 meter away from the desk, she stood still and saluted, Hello, Dean, student Lin Chuxia is here. Do you know why I came to you? Please give instructions from the leader. Why don't you help pregnant women? Report to the dean, I helped. Did you help? Dean Su looked at her lightly, how? In order not to tire the pregnant comrade, I won't give her water. The corners of Dean Su's mouth twitched and he continued to ask, then why can't you fill her with water and help her carry her to the office? Report to the dean, if I help her, the people in their office will ask her to fetch water. In order to nip all dangers in the bud, I chose not to help. You are using strong words to make sense. Report to the dean, no. I think it is. Lin Chuxia obeys the dean's instructions. What should I do next time I encounter you? Report to the dean. I will report the situation to her immediate leader. Her leader will decide what to do. Dean Su sighed, okay, come and sit down. The solemnity on Chu Xia's face quickly disappeared, and she sat opposite Dean Su with a smile. Dean, are you satisfied with my performance? Lin Chuxia, you haven't suffered any setbacks since you were a child, right? Dean Su's serious expression made the smile on Chu Xia's face disappear little by little, and he became serious. Dean, what happened? Please tell me, don't scare me like this. Answer me first. I thought about it seriously in early summer, it seems that she has never suffered any setbacks. Although she doesn't like practicing piano, she is talented, her family's financial situation is good, and she is also a favorite at school. In this era, my parents I love her. Although I didn't eat well at first, it's not a setback. By the way, time traveling to this era, is the biggest setback. Someone thought of this and nodded his head vigorously. I have suffered setbacks. Is it serious? Serious? How serious is it? It's about life. Dean-su frowned. What's the matter? Can you tell me about it? Ah. Chusia was a little confused. What did she say? Said that she inexplicably traveled from an era of material abundance and spiritual openness to an era of material poverty and spiritual isolation. Her relatives have changed, her friends have disappeared, and everything is so unfamiliar that she wants to commit suicide before going back. Dean, Chusia, the setback that Chusia encountered was related to me. I lied to her. Chusia's silence made Luo Xiaoxian misunderstood. She thought the other party was embarrassed to say it, so she quickly told her about the name change. And at the end he continued to reflect, I was wrong that time. I didn't keep my word. Chusia is the most trustworthy person. Therefore, she especially hates people who are dishonest. Moreover, she only has a good friend like me. I took it more seriously, so I got really angry. Chusia heard a dark clue. How could this be called a setback? It was clearly childish. Okay. Sure enough, after listening to Luo Xiaoxian's story, the look on Dean-su's face became more solemn. Chusia, this is not a setback, this is at most a child throwing a tantrum. Moreover, this incident also shows that your parents doted on you too much. It was your fault that you ran away from home, but later they didn't dare to say anything to you and tried to please you everywhere. How could this work? This is not what I said, this is really not what I said, Luo Xiaoxian explained to Chusia anxiously. Dean-su smiled helplessly. Do you still need to say this? I can tell it from your voice. Moreover, from the attitude of her parents towards her, when I think about it again, don't I understand it all? Luo Xiaoxian, I also want to talk to you about this. I know that you have a good relationship with Chusia, but you must make a distinction between public and private matters. If I am not the one talking now, if you explain it like this, you will still be liked by the leader in the future. An idea flashed in Chusia's mind, and she looked up at Dean-su. Dean, are you leaving? No. Isn't it? Luo Xiaoxian looked at Dean-su in a panic. If you leave, what will we do? Hey, Dean-su sighed heavily. Lin Chuxia, you are really a very smart child, so I am even more worried about you. Most smart children are arrogant. However, smart and arrogant children are most likely to attract jealousy. At work, everyone respects the strong, not the delicate girl who relies on the protection of the family. Otherwise, one day, you will not be able to stand the surrounding environment. Defeat yourself. Because of your intelligence, your talent, and your specialness, the last thing I want to see is that you die on the way. My child, remember, hard things are easy. Sometimes, taking a step back does not mean you are weak, but it gives you time to think clearly, and it also eliminates the opportunity for the other party to harm you. When you are strong enough, this kind of jealousy will naturally disappear. Exists. From what you say, I really want to leave the hospital, right? Chusia's voice trembled slightly, not because of fear, but because of an inexplicable emotion mixed with reluctance and confusion. Having been in this era for so long, she certainly understands that things are still different now and in future generations. People will not really respect you just because you have a strong background. Strength is the primary factor that everyone values. But today, Dean-su brought this matter up so solemnly, which meant that she probably couldn't protect her from the wind and rain here. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 519. Second update arrived. Looking at the two nervous little faces in front of her, Dean-su felt a little sad for some reason. She really liked that expression of sincere dependence rather than fear of loss because of benefits. Yes, I am going to be transferred. Originally, I wanted to tell you later, but today, what happened to Yamiru made me feel that I must prepare you mentally earlier. You are the first to know this news. Don't tell it out for now. Ronaldinho, I also want to ask for your opinion on your matter. It's up to you to decide whether you want to follow me or stay in 401. I am going to be transferred to the Ministry of Health. If you are willing to follow me, I can arrange for you to be my assistant. However, my age is here. One day, you must fly out by yourself. If you stay in 401, you have two options, either start as a student, or become an ordinary administrator. However, in terms of medical skills, you are not as talented as Lin Chuxia. Of course, as long as you are willing, there is no problem if you work hard and become a qualified doctor. Dean, I understand what you mean. Either I stay in 401 and work as an ordinary administrator, or I go with you. This is actually my real choice, right? Dean Su smiled at her. I'm just helping you analyze your personality. The decision is in your hands. Zioxian, you go with the Dean. Chuxia knew the reason for Luo Zioxian's hesitation, which was that he didn't want to be separated from her, but in terms of future development, it is definitely better to follow Dean Su than to stay alone in 401. Learning management is like learning medicine. Only by following a wise man who truly has no secrets and is willing to teach you can you possibly learn the true skills. She must not let Luo Zioxian miss her future for her. Luo Zioxian is still hesitating. Of course she knows what is good for her, but she always feels that if she chooses what is good for her, it will be a betrayal of Chuxia. Although Chuxia persuaded her, she still couldn't make up her mind. She had already missed it once, and she couldn't accept that she would make another mistake. In particular, the Dean's question to Chuxia just now made her feel completely confused. Seeing Luo Zioxian's painful look, Chuxia had no choice but to persuade her. Zioxian, I know what you are hesitating about. I tell you clearly that if you punish yourself again because of the last name change incident, I will not treat you as a friend. The so-called friends are for helping each other, not for dragging each other down. You should think so and stick with the Dean. Learn how to be a qualified manager, and one day you can protect me. If you just want to stay with me now, stay here. Then, when something happens, we can probably only stare at each other, and neither of us can help the other. Yes or no? Luo Zioxian was a little shaken. She looked hesitantly at Dean Su, then at Chuxia, then stretched out her hand to look at it. Finally, she made up her mind, I'll go with Dean. That's right. Chuxia hugged her happily, but couldn't help but feel a little sour in her heart. No matter where you go, remember me. I will wait for you to protect me in the future. The corners of Dean Su's mouth twitched uncontrollably. She wanted to scold Chuxia again. Although she was telling the truth, was it necessary to be so direct? What to cover or not? Dean, can I go over and give you a hug? Chuxia let go of Luo Zioxian and looked at Dean Su eagerly. For no reason, I just want to give you a hug. Yes, I just wanted to hug this loving Dean. At first, it was to help my mother-in-law that I transferred Luo Zioxian away from her. I didn't expect that the two of them could get along so well and become best friends. It was really something that made her very, very happy. Dean Su stood up on his own initiative and stretched out his hand to her. Chuxia quickly went around and hugged her hard. Dean, if I can't survive in the future, can I join you too? Okay, as long as your mother-in-law agrees, I won't have any objection. Chuxia let her go and smiled sheepishly. Fortunately, none of the Zhou family were particularly old-fashioned. Otherwise, when they heard her words, they would mistakenly think that she was cursing the Zhou family. Isn't the prerequisite for not going down the line the decline of the Zhou family? Dean, When will you leave the hospital? Chusia asked after sitting back. There is still 1 month left. After the handover with the new dean, I will stay here for another 3 to 5 days and then I will leave Dean Su's side. I have been here for so many years and I have to leave. I'm really reluctant to part with it. After thinking about it, Chusia asked, does Teacher Song know? I don't know if she knows. Anyway, I haven't told her yet, but given her family's situation, she probably heard about it. If she asks you, just tell the truth. Thank you, Dean. Chusia smiled gratefully, not tired of talking to smart people. You little naughty boy, Dean Su glared at her and returned to the previous topic. Now do you understand why I used Yamiru's incident as an example? It is impossible for her not to target you in the future, but her advantage now is that she is weak, divorced, pregnant, and has a bad relationship with her natal family. As for you, although many people do not know your identity, you will immediately to become Mr. Liang's student. Just because of this, everyone will tilt their emotional balance towards her. The new dean is an upright person, but he is also a principled person. Just like what happened today, your answer will definitely give him a very bad impression. I am talking about the second time, because you will give him the impression that you will not admit your mistakes, find various excuses, be pregnant, and be divorced. These 2 points alone can make an upright person sympathize with her. Lin Chuxia, think carefully about my words and think about what you will do when you encounter this kind of thing again in the future. Don't always act like a common man, but really learn to behave when you get an advantage. This is a very profound problem. Chusia scratched her head in confusion. From Dean Su's description, she already understood that the new dean is a rigid person, and rigid people like to play their cards in a strict manner, and Yamei, how can she act so shamelessly? Why do you want to send such a person to be the dean? Are you planning to kill me? Dean Su laughed, you are so young, you will meet all kinds of leaders in the future, learn to adapt, and make yourself strong, so you don't have to be afraid of anyone. Of course, if you are willing to borrow the power of the family, for the time being, no one can bully you. But Lin Chuxia, although I am Lin Yangkai's good friend, I still want to advise you that it is better to rely on yourself than relying on anyone else. Technology is your own in your hands. No matter what problems you encounter, you have the ability to support yourself and help others. Life is ever changing, and no one dares to predict what will happen tomorrow. Being prepared is always safe. People in this era are really frightened by political struggles. She knows the future trend, but she knows that the days of fighting people casually will be gone forever. Mom, it's a good thing she didn't wear it. On those days when you fight with others casually, wouldn't it mean that you would be tortured to death? Dean, I understand. Well, it's good if you can listen. But if it's Yamiru, I still can't bear it. The dean said that she didn't know what to say. Forget it, young people, it's not a bad thing to hit a wall. If you don't want to endure it, just endure it. Chusia, you really won't blame me if I can't see you every day in the future. As she sent Chusia out of the door, Luo Xiaoxian looked at the other person's face anxiously. You have to promise me that you won't be angry with me. I'm really not angry with you. Chusia looked at her helplessly. When have you ever seen me say anything duplicitous? Also, let me tell you by the way, you are really not allowed to mention the name change in the future. Otherwise, I will really fall out with you. Okay, I won't mention it if I don't mention it. However, I still think Lin Zi sounds pretty good. Are you really sure you won't change it? You want me to get a new marriage certificate? Ah, Luo Xiaoxian was stunned and slapped her forehead repeatedly. Look at my stupid brain, how could I forget this matter? Chusia, please don't tell Captain Zhou. Speaking of Zhou Mikang, Chusia's mood was a little low, and there was no news about him yet. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 520. One update arrived. Noticing that Chu Xia's expression was wrong, Luo Xiaoxian asked nervously, "Are you angry about Yamiru's complaint, or are you feeling uncomfortable because the dean and I are leaving?" "Chu Xia, how about I stay with you? Come on, you can feel better if you have me as your companion." "You think too much." Not wanting Luo Xiaoxian to worry with him, Chu Xia adjusted his mood and smiled at her. "Breakup is never a happy thing. You have to give me time to adapt. You really don't want me to stay with you. How many times do I have to say it before you understand?" Chu Xia sighed helplessly. "Xiaoxian, you don't owe me anything, so don't always treat me with a repayment mentality. Staying with Dean Su is the best for your development. Isn't it wonderful to think that one day we can support each other?" "Then why do you look so ugly?" Luo Xiaoxian frowned and looked at her. "There must be something going on. Don't hide it from me." "Chu Xia, I treat you as your best friend. I will tell you everything. You can do it yourself. Do you believe me?" "You." Chu Xia looked helpless. "I'm really worrying you to death." "Well, it doesn't hurt to tell you. I haven't heard from Joe Mixang for more than half a month, so I'm a little worried about him." "No way," Luo Xiaoxian frowned. "I just received a letter from Zhao Liang yesterday. He said that he would definitely come back during the new year." "Really?" Chu Xia grabbed her anxiously. "My brother really said that he can come back before the Chinese New Year?" "He said that they have already moved back." "Yeah, I thought you knew." "I didn't tell you," Luo Xiaoxian said with a hint of blush on her cheeks. "He also said that he wanted to spend the new year with me. Wherever I was, he was." After saying that, I realized that now is not the time to show off my happiness. He quickly made up for it. "I guess the leader must have a surprise for you." Probably Chu Xia could only think of this reason now. Since Zhao Liang has gone back, then, as the coach, Zhou Mixang cannot not come back. Thinking like this, she made up her mind and waved at Luo Xiaoxian. "Wave. I'm going back to work, you should hurry up and get busy." Having no conscience, Luo Xiaoxian rolled his eyes at her and turned back to Dean Su's office. Chu Xia walked halfway and was intercepted by Lu Meijun and Jun Daodu. "Xia Xia, are you okay?" Jun Daodu pulled her arm and asked with a worried look on her face. "What's the matter?" Chu Xia looked at the two of them. "What the hell are you doing, being so mysterious? Tell me if you have anything to do." "I have to go back to work." "It's okay to be reprimanded." Jun Daodu rolled her eyes at her. "Now it's spread throughout the hospital that you don't help pregnant women. You were called by the director to reprimand you. It's not like Meijun and I don't know about your past with that woman. Speaking of which, she is too shameless. You went so far as to file a complaint. Did the dean really reprimand you?" "Too partial." Chu Xia quickly interrupted her. "The dean just talked to me about the skills of getting along with others. He didn't train me. Moreover, I also said that if she encounters trouble for me next time, I still won't help." Deliberately lowering his voice, "She has already filed a lawsuit. She has to put on a show. Just go back to work and we can talk about it at lunch." Walking all the way back, Chu Xia finally understood why Lu Meijun and Jun Daodu were so anxious to find her. Anyone they met on the road who was familiar with her would comfort her. When she entered the office, she saw Wang Jing looking at her face. Without waiting for the other party to speak, she quickly said, I'm fine, so don't comfort me." "Ha ha." Wang Jing couldn't help laughing. "Who wants to comfort you? The teacher asked me to inform you that you are back. Hurry up and find Professor Yuan. Professor Yuan will have an operation tomorrow and you will be appointed as his assistant. I am just curious. Why are you looking at you just because you are so popular? You think too much." "Disgusting." Chu Xia rolled her eyes at her and ran out quickly. Professor Yuan was taking this opportunity to teach her, and she couldn't let him think that she didn't take this matter seriously. Things turned out as she expected. What Professor Yun wanted to do was a small operation to remove a hernia. However, the most critical point was that Professor Yun wanted her to be the chief surgeon. You, are you kidding me? Chu Xia stuttered when she was anxious. She had only studied for a little more than 7 months. She had followed Song Xiao on the operating table several times before, but at most it's the second assistant, and now she is suddenly asked to perform, even a minor surgery. It seems to be against the rules, right? How can I have so much free time to tease you? Professor Yun took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. What, no confidence? Well, master, where do you have so much confidence in me? Chu Xia sat opposite him, staring at him blankly. Why do I feel that you have more confidence in me than I do in myself? Is your confidence still high? Should I do it or not? Professor Yun put on his glasses and stared at her. Choose for yourself. If you don't do it, I will choose someone else to be your assistant. If you do it, I will be your assistant. You would be a fool if you don't do it. After saying this proudly, Chu Xia slumped down again. But master, you can give me some transition time. For example, let me do a little help first. So suddenly, I feel really nervous. Look at your potential. The words were unpleasant, but Professor Yun's tone softened. Xiaolin, do you think I am willing to take such a risk? But time waits for no one. I will wait for you to become apprentices one by one, step by step. If you can afford it, an old man like me can't afford it. When I can still move, I will bring one more person with me. Of course, I'm not joking with the patient's life. You have a solid theoretical foundation and very strong practical ability. With focused training, a student like you can be an apprentice half the time of others. What do you think? Do you want to be a disciple? A girl who makes others envious? Master, you. After hesitating, Chu Xia said, can you speak more clearly? What do you mean when you can still move? You, don't scare me. It's not like you don't know what's going on with my legs. Some major surgeries I'm simply unable to do. Now for minor surgeries, I can barely stand up. If I continue like this, one day I'll be able to stand up. Not on the operating table. Theory and practice are two different things after all. Xiaolin, it is rare to meet a good person like you. I hope that when I have the ability, I can teach him everything I have. I have already told Xiao Song about this matter, and she asked me to discuss it with you. As long as you are willing, you will be asked to come and help whenever I have operations here in the future. When Lao Yang comes, I will discuss with him to continue using this model. If my legs were not good, it would be his turn to lead you this time. I think back then, he was still my apprentice. The so-called most lovable people are people like you and Lao who spend their entire lives on medicine. In his heart, there is no struggle for power and money, fame and fortune. What he has is just his persistence in medicine. Anyone who cares about gains and losses would not let her perform the surgery now. You must know that regardless of success or failure, the person who puts her on the operating table will be controversial. Such trust cannot be let down. Chu Xia looked at Mr. Yun seriously. Master, don't worry, I won't let you make a mistake, and I won't make fun of the patient's health. Now, I will do the simulation. Okay, a big smile broke out on Mr. Yun's face. Xiaolin, what I want is your courage. Don't worry, you can definitely handle this kind of surgery now. As long as you believe in yourself, you will definitely succeed. Chu Xia spent the whole day in the simulation practice room. In the middle, Song Xiao came over and was rolled his eyes by Mr. Yun. What he wanted was for Chu Xia to practice without anyone interrupting him. After various hernia cases were tested one by one, Chu Xia looked at Professor Yun confidently. Master, are you okay? That's right. You've already achieved excellence the first time. Try it again. Yes, Josei responded and repeated the previous experiment again. After doing this 3 times, Mr. Yuan already grinned from the corners of his mouth to his ears. This student's talent was beyond his expectation. He had never seen a student with such dexterity, and even among the doctors he knew, there were not many. The hands are so flexible. When he was young, he was famous for his dexterity. Later, due to injuries and getting older, although his hands were still dexterous, they were no longer as good as when he was young. Now seeing Josei's fingers flying up and down, he felt a rush of blood, as if, the mood of my youth is back. It wasn't until 6 o'clock in the evening that Professor Yuan announced that the experiment was over. The first thing Josei did after changing his clothes was to massage Yuan Lao's legs. Although he had been sitting still, such a long time was beyond the limit of what he could endure. Yuan Lao did not refuse. He would have surgery tomorrow. He couldn't be brave. Although he said he completely believed in Josei, he had to be fully prepared. He wanted to train her as quickly as possible, but he was a real doctor. For doctors, the patient's health was the first priority, and he couldn't put the cart before the horse. Then, now he must accept his apprentice's kindness, and tomorrow he can stand by her side and accompany her to the end. Feeling the stiffness in old Yuan's calves, Josei sniffed and said, "Let you show off your talent. I told you that I would train you to move around, but you didn't listen. Are you suffering?" Mr. Yuan chuckled and pulled his leg back. "Look at you, you press it twice for me and you start to wake up. Okay, let's go home. It's a small year today. Don't let the family wait too long." "You know I didn't mean it that way," Josei said, increasing the strength on her hands. "Be patient, it will only hurt a few times." Yuan Lao, who is the disciple? First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 521. Second update arrived. When Josei helped Mr. Yuan out of the practice room, Jingzhe and Lin Wenbin were already waiting outside. "Mr. Yuan, are you okay?" Jingzhe quickly stepped forward and took Professor Yuan from Josei's hands. "A superb, honest, and selfless old doctor whom I respect very much." Lin Wenbin already knew from Song Xiao about Mr. Yuan's situation and the importance he attached to Josei. Naturally, he also had a good impression of the old man, so he greeted politely, "Professor Yuan, hello, I am Lin Wenbin, Lin Chuxia's cousin." "I'm fine." Mr. Yuan first answered Jingzhe's question, then looked at Lin Wenbin. "Hello, Xiao Lin. My surname is Yuan, old man." Josei spat. "Master, my brother just called you old." "Haha." Professor Yuan smiled sheepishly. "Xiao Lin, I'm sorry, I'm getting older, so I'm always prone to forgetfulness and confusion, but I still think I'm quite right." "You are too tired." Jingzhe sighed and looked at Lin Wenbin. Professor Yuan's legs cannot stand for a long time, and it is easy to feel uncomfortable after sitting for a long time. But today, he stayed in the practice room to teach Josei. Nearly 8 hours. Josei echoed, "Yes, I went to the cafeteria to get lunch." The master only took 10 minutes to finish it. "The rest of the time he has been supervising my practice." As she said this, she slapped her forehead fiercely. "Brother, do you have any questions? Have you gone to see Xiaoxiang?" "I agreed to let her go to my house to celebrate the new year together, but I was so busy now that I forgot about it." Jingzhe coughed sheepishly. "I came here right after the operation." "Pointing at you, the daylilies are already cold." Lin Wenbin snorted at Jingzhe and looked at Josei. "Don't worry, I'll send her back first. I'll pick you up again." "Brother, you are so attentive," Josei couldn't help but praise. "Of course. My sister is so busy, how can I not think about these things for her?" Lin Wenbin rubbed Josei's head and looked at Jingzhe. "In this regard, you are not as good as me." "Yes, Yes, Jingzhe nodded with a wry smile and performed the operation. When he saw that it was almost 6 o'clock, he thought of picking up Chu Xia first and then looking for Luo Xiaoxiang. As a result, he just said a few words to Lin Wenbin when he got here, and Chu Xia came out. Things were already like this, and there was no point in explaining this, so he simply admitted his mistake. Okay, Xiaojing, please let go of me and move around. My legs are much better now, Professor Yuan said as he let go of Jingzhe's hand. Today, Xiaonian, you all should go home quickly. No, we have to take you home first before we can leave. Jingzhe said and sighed. I've already done something wrong once. This time I can't say anything wrong again. Chu Xia laughed. Brother, are you jealous of the second brother? Yeah, look at how sour he is. Lin Wenbin smacked his lips. I have a headache now just looking at his sour look. If I had known earlier, I would not give him the position of eldest brother. It's great to be young, Professor Yuan couldn't help but sigh. When I was your age, I also liked to argue with a group of people, but now I don't have the energy to do so. However, I am willing to be with young people and have vitality. Lin Wenbin quickly answered, I would also like to be with an elder like you, kind and kind. Jingzhe, who was a step too late to answer, had no choice but to smile. As long as he was with Lin Wenbin, he couldn't take advantage of his words. The other party was definitely the ancestor who rushed to answer. Grandpa, why are you back? A pretty girl about 20 years old ran over from a distance, looked at Professor Yuan up and down, and pouted. Did you go to the operating table for another major operation? No, no. The girl snorted, it's nothing, I don't believe it. If it weren't for you, I would be like this now. Grandpa, why can't you listen to me? Don't you know your own body? If you continue to be careless like this, your legs will really retire early. Even if you don't think about yourself, shouldn't you also think about Grandma? By the way, you promised Grandma that when you retire, you will take her to visit your great-aunt. If you don't take good care of these two legs, how can you take Grandma to travel long distances to visit relatives? Mr. Yuan smiled helplessly. Hui, you said that when you saw me, you were like a machine gun, and you didn't know how to greet the guests. Is it okay to be polite and give your grandpa some face? No, the girl named Hui's face drooped. If you cherish your body, I will definitely fight for your face. Then he looked at Chu Xia and the others. I emphasize again, his legs you can't stand for a long time. The so-called long time means that it can't exceed 2 hours. As his student, if you really respect him, you should watch him carefully and not let him follow his own temper. As soon as he starts teaching students or goes on the operating table, he forgets who he is and what his body is like. But he forgot, you can't forget. What should I do if I really collapse on the operating table from exhaustion? I'm sorry, it's my fault. Chu Xia quickly admitted her mistake. Master was tired because he was teaching me. I will definitely remind Master to get more rest in the future. I'm really sorry this time. What's the use of just admitting your mistake? Yuan Hui glared at Chu Xia. Forget it, if you really mean this kind of thing, you will pay attention to it without me saying anything. If you don't mean it, it's useless no matter what I say. Grandpa, I have decided that after the Chinese New Year, I will be transferred to your hospital to take a good look at you. Otherwise, you may be tormented and collapsed one day. You kid, you did well in the people's hospital, why do you have to go to our hospital? Yuan Lai refused immediately. Don't worry, I will pay attention. Today is a special situation. What special situation? Yuan Hui looked at Jingzhe with a cold face. You say you are a student, but do you really pretend to be so? Yuan Hui, today is really a special situation, don't blame Mr. Yuan. Jingzhe smiled bitterly. He must have gone out at the wrong time today, otherwise, why would everyone take it out on him? You still know that my name is Yuan Hui. Yuan Hui rolled her eyes, looking at your expression, I thought you didn't recognize who I am at all, and I don't know what ZenMaleLead sees in you, you selfish devil. Hui, what are you talking about? Mr. Yuan glared at his granddaughter dissatisfied. Are you also allowed to interfere in Director Jing's affairs? I just can't stand how he doesn't care about ZenMaleLead. If you don't like her, don't get engaged to her. What does this mean now? Ah. Sister Meili is back. Chu Xia looked at Jing Zhe in confusion. Brother, when did Sister Meili come back? Did you have any conflicts? It seems that I came back the day before yesterday. I have been busy these days and haven't bothered to see her. Jing Zhe sighed. Yuan Hui, I am indeed too busy these days, otherwise, I would have gone to see Meili long ago. If I see her tomorrow, please tell me that I will go find her after I finish my work these days, or she can come to me directly, please. After listening to this, Chu Xia roughly understood that this Yuan Hui was ZenMaleLead's best friend and was fighting for ZenMaleLead. This really meant that the emperor was not in a hurry and the eunuch was. She had talked with ZenMaleLead before, and the other party said that she especially enjoyed this kind of relationship where they were not together every day. If she really gave Jing Zhe all her free time, she would definitely be driven crazy. Unexpectedly, when Yuan Hui arrived, Jing Zhe became irresponsible. She knew very well how busy Jing Zhe was during this period. Aren't the Chinese people very particular? They didn't see a doctor during the first month, so there were so many patients. He had surgery a year ago. Jing Zhe relied on his youth and good physical strength to undergo 2 to 3 surgeries every day. How could he have time to fall in love? But she couldn't interfere in this matter. This brother was too sensitive when it came to humming his sister. Moreover, one look at Yuan Hui's way of speaking showed that she had a firecracker temper. She didn't want to draw the heat on herself. Unfortunately, just because she didn't attract her, it didn't mean that Yuan Hui didn't pay attention to her. He looked at her for a few times and suddenly slapped her forehead. Are you that Lin Chuxia? Chu Xia looked at Mr. Yuan in confusion. Could it be that Mr. Yuan had mentioned her to his granddaughter? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 522. First update arrived. My grandpa mentions your name at home all day, and my ears are almost numb. Mr. Chong Yuan rolled his eyes, and Yuan Hui continued, there is also ZenMaleLead, who has been praising you for how talented you are. I have wanted to meet you for a long time. Your true colors in Lushan. After looking at Chu Xia carefully, Yuan Hui snorted coldly, I don't care whether you are really talented or not. For me, Grandpa's body is the most important. I don't allow him to be so tired in the future. Why don't you think I'm rude to you? How can you be so rude? Young Master Lin finally couldn't bear it anymore. Can his dear sister be bullied like this? He respects Mr. Yuan, but that doesn't mean he will let Mr. Yuan's daughter bully his sister like this. Did I talk to you? Yuan Hui glared at him. When girls talk to each other, can a grown man stop chewing his tongue like a woman? I don't care what you say to others, except threatening my sister. Lin Wenbin also glared at her. You have no right or qualification to treat her like this. She is my grandfather's student, so I am qualified to treat her like this. Oh, no, I mean, as my grandfather's student, I am qualified to treat her like this, regardless of my grandfather's health. It's normal for a granddaughter like you to understand grandpa's body, but how long has she known him? Aren't you asking her to understand grandpa's body like you do? Did I ask her to know my grandpa's body like I do? There's none. Yuan Hui's eyes suddenly widened. Where is my grandpa? Where's Chu Xia? Lin Wenbin also looked around. Where have you been? Don't follow me, Yuan Hui pointed at Lin Wenbin. As she trotted into the yard, she happened to hear her grandma praising Chu Xia. "My little girl is so handsome, so beautiful. I haven't seen such a handsome little girl in many years." Cough, Yuan Hui coughed heavily. Lin Wenbin, who followed her in, laughed out loud, "Even if you die from coughing, you won't be able to grow up like my sister." Yuan Hui rushed up and grabbed his collar. "I'm warning you, don't mess with me all the time. Girl, I don't have a very good temper. I'm being polite today. If you dare to laugh at me again next time, don't think my scalpel doesn't have eyes." "Zai, Mr. Yuan yelled angrily, "can you look a little bit like a girl?" "Hey," the old lady also sighed. "Hui, can you save your grandpa and me from worrying? How can you get married if you look like this? I'm really worrying you to death." "Grandma, I was wrong, don't cry, I know it's okay." Chu Xia stared at the scene in front of her in stunned silence as if watching a play. Yuan Hui, who looked like a tigress just a moment ago, was now curled up in Master Yuan's arms like a kitten. She spoke in such a soft voice that she almost turned over and asked her mistress to touch her belly. Until he got in the car, Chu Xia was still a little stunned. The scene just now had a huge impact on her. In this era, girls like this seem to be in short supply. Glance at her. Jingzhe began to tell, Professor Yuan only had one son, when Yuan Hui was 3 years old. Professor Yuan's son passed away, and Yuan Hui's mother took her to live with Professor Yuan and his wife. The year Professor Yuan was sent to reform, Yuan Hui's mother abandoned her daughter and left. Yuan Hui and Yuan's grandmother depended on each other. The two women were inevitably bullied, and Yuan Hui's character became more and more like a boy. When a mean-mouthed kid scolded her grandfather in front of her, she would roll up her sleeves and beat him up. Even if her head was beaten bloody, she would never stop as long as the other person didn't apologize. Gradually, none of the children living near them dared to bully them, including some foul-mouthed women, and they did not dare to speak ill of their family. They were all afraid of her life. Zhenmei became good friends with her, but one time she had a fight with a boy and was beaten bloody. Zhenmei helped her and bandaged her. She was a person who knew her grudges clearly. From then on, she was very concerned about Zhenmei's affairs, even more so than her own affairs. After Yuan Lao was rehabilitated, she entered the People's Hospital. She also started as a young apprentice. She is very smart and hard-working. With the careful guidance of her predecessor, it only took her 2 years to be able to operate on the operating table independently. If you say you have a talent, then she really got it through hard work. In the first half of her medical studies, she never had a wound on her hands, and her body was full of needle holes. She is here today because of everything she did. Chu Xia, don't mind her attitude towards you. To her, the most important people in the world are her grandfather and grandmother. Even if she risked her life for them, she was willing to do it. You can see from her behavior just now how much she cares about MRSUN. When you get to know her better in the future, you will know that it is impossible for her to admit her mistakes in front of others. Hearing what Jingzhe said, Chu Xia understood what Yuan Hui had just done. I believe that when she made the cat shape, she must have been extremely repelled in her heart. But in order to make the old lady happy, she forced herself to do it, or did she force herself to do it? In front of all of them, how deep is this love for a person with a stubborn temper? Her eyes were a little red. I will apologize to her another day. Jingzhe shook his head. That's not the case. You don't understand Professor Yuan's true situation, and Professor Yuan is also quite stubborn. If he doesn't want to rest, it's useless no matter how much you try to persuade him. In fact, Yuan Hui's personality is basically the same as Professor Yuan's, but the way of expression is different. They are both stubborn at heart. If Professor Yuan had been a little gentler, his legs would not have been damaged like that. Alas, Chu Xia sighed and didn't know what to say. If Professor Yuan's character really softened, his behavior would not be what it is now. So, everything is really a contradiction. However, after knowing Yuan Hui's actual situation, she had the idea of becoming friends with him. Such a girl, with clear grievances and broad-mindedness, and the right temper, would definitely be a lifelong companion. Lin Wenbin remained silent. Chu Xia quietly looked at him, and when the other party happened to look over, he glared at her. "Why are you being so mean? Brother?" Chu Xia had a dark line. "Why am I being so mean? I'm trying to figure out if brother is still angry. Thank you for protecting me. I'm very happy to have two brothers like you protecting me. But, Yuan Hui is also not easy, huh?" "What are you talking about?" Lin Wenbin looked at her angrily and funny. "Am I so petty? If you want to be friends with her, I won't interfere, but if she's not enthusiastic, don't try to kiss her coldly. We Lin family members will not do such things." Chu Xia nodded quickly. "I listen to my brother. If she treats me coldly, I will stop sticking to her cold butt. If she treats me warmly, I will be friends with her." "Okay, you are free to be friends with whom you want. I won't interfere. However, if someone bullies you, I will never forgive her. No matter how pitiful she is, there is no reason for her to bully others." Chu Xia has a black streak on her head. It seems that her cousin and Yuan Hui really don't have a good temper. Jing Zhe sent Chu Xia and Lin Wenbin to the Zhou family's old house and went straight home. As soon as he entered the door, he found ZhenMaleLead laughing and making dumplings with his mother. Thinking of Yuan Hui's accusation against him before, he smiled apologetically at ZhenMaleLead. "I'm sorry, I've been too busy and haven't been to see you these past few days." "Hey, are you being polite to me?" ZhenMaleLead looked at him funny. "We haven't seen each other for a month now. How can you be so polite if we don't see each other for a year?" "That's right, why are you so polite? Go wash your hands and help." Zhu Xingqian glared at her son. "You still have the nerve to say something, but since you know what you did is not good, you should pay attention to it in the future." Okay, I'll pay attention in the future." Jing Zhe ran to the bathroom to wash his hands, but when he looked up in the mirror, he found his grandparents standing at the door, staring at him. "Grandpa, Grandma, what are you doing? If you are timid, you will be scared to death." Grandma Jing stepped forward and grabbed her grandson's arm. "Xiaozhe, we want grandson's wife to come in." Mr. Jing quickly agreed. "Yes, Xiaozhe, your grandma and I have discussed it. Otherwise, you two should get married years ago. There are more people in the family and the new year will be lively." Jing Zhe looked at a pair of old naughty boys speechlessly. They thought they were getting married to buy groceries. Did they just buy them after they said they were going to buy them? It seems that there are still 7 days left to celebrate the new year. How can we make it in time? Moreover, there is no way to do things like this. Without even saying hello in advance, you suddenly ask someone to marry you. No matter how you think about it, this is wrong. How about it? Do you agree or not? The old couple did not let him go. They blocked the door and chased him to ask for the result. However, Jing Zhe had no choice but to tell the old couple what he thought. "Is this what you are worried about?" The old lady raised her eyebrows. Before Jing Zhe could say anything, she had already turned around and walked out. Something felt wrong. However, it was too late to stop her, so Jing Zhe had to help his grandfather out. As a result, as soon as he walked out of the bathroom door, he heard his grandma proposing for him. "Male, marry Xiaozhe years ago. He is looking forward to your marriage every day and keeps talking about it in his dreams. That kid is thin-skinned, I'm sorry to say, but I looked anxious, so I came to speak for him. Male, just agree to him. You have to do surgery every day. What can you do if you don't have a good spirit, right?" ZhenMaleLead didn't expect that the old lady would suddenly give her such a move, and she was a little at a loss for a moment. "If I agree, it seems a bit disrespectful. If I don't agree, it seems a bit ungrateful. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 523. Second update arrived. When the dumplings were coming out of the pot, Lin Yangkai received a call from Zhu Xingkan. After hearing what the other party said, Lin Yangkai was completely stunned. Today is the new year, and there are still 7 days to celebrate the new year. Then, the two children will get married 2 years ago. When she sat at the table, Lin Yangkai was still doubting whether the news was true or false. However, no matter whether it was true or false, Zhu Xingkan called her, so she had to convey the news to her, otherwise, she would definitely be said to be. Jealousy is hidden. Although she didn't know what she was jealous of, anyway, she just couldn't live up to that reputation. Clearing her throat, Lin Yangkai said, "Let me tell you the good news first. Jingzhe is getting married." Zhu Xingkan called just now to talk about this. Old Mrs. Zhou laughed, "Xiaozhe is the same age as Xiaomi, so they should be married. This is good news." Mr. Zhou smiled and agreed, "Not bad, not bad. Now old man Jing and old Mrs. Jing no longer have to be jealous of us. Haha, it's really good to hear the news today." Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe's feelings for Jingzhe are slightly inferior to Zhou Mikang's, so they were extremely happy when they heard the news. After everyone expressed their happiness about this matter, Chu Xia asked the most critical question, "Mom, did Aunt Zhu say when the eldest brother will get married?" "This is exactly what I suspected. She said that Jingzhe and Meili will get married years ago." Lin Yangkai counted on her fingers. "Look, how can she have time in just these few days?" "Did you mistake an engagement for a marriage?" old Mrs. Zhou asked. "No." After a pause, Lin Yangkai said with some uncertainty, "It's possible. If I didn't hear wrongly, Zhu Xingkan was probably thinking about an engagement, but she said she was married." "Well, eldest brother and sister Meili invited the whole family to dinner last time. Didn't they say they were engaged?" Chu Xia expressed her doubts again. Now it was the Zhou family's turn to feel embarrassed, so Lin Yangkai had no choice but to explain, "Our custom here is that there must be a procedure before marriage to make an agreement, but now we are not allowed to say so, just say it is an engagement. A simple explanation is the first engagement. In fact, it is an engagement, which means to finalize the marriage between two people. This time it is an engagement. In fact, it was decided to pay the bride price. Once this process is over and the date is set, you can get married. You and Xiaomi were too hasty when you got married, so you didn't follow these routines completely." Oh. Chu Xia suddenly responded repeatedly, "Mom, I don't have any ideas. Sister Meili is from the local area, so it's convenient for us. Our homes are so far away. There are some special reasons. If it's really according to that procedure, we would really be worried to death." Zhao Yulan reacted and quickly agreed with her daughter. Mr. Wan looked on and laughed. "I couldn't help but interject, you guys always like to take things upon yourself, and you don't care about small details. Why do you explain so much?" "Okay, we won't explain anymore. Today is the New Year's Day, and it's the day when Jingzhe's marriage is finalized. It's a double happiness, let's do it together." Only Zhou Jingping and Zhou Mixang were missing in the family. Everyone else followed Mr. Zhou's call and picked up their wine glasses. The female guests drank sweet wine. This was also the first year that Wang Lei spent the new year in the Zhou family after being married. She could not leave Wang Jing to celebrate the new year alone, so with her strong insistence, Wang Jing was also taken to the Zhou family to celebrate the new year. Wang Jing, who was originally a little repulsive about spending the new year in a strange family, immediately disappeared after being placed next to Luo Xiaoxian and Chu Xia. When the elders were chatting, the three of them chatted as if they were in a hospital. Chu Xia felt a little regretful that Zhou Mikang could not come back. Therefore, although she had a smile on her face, people who knew her well could still tell that she was not in a high mood. "Are you still worried?" While Wang Jing was going to the bathroom, Luo Xiaoxian quietly explained to Chu Xia, "Didn't I tell you that your brother has already written to me? Captain Zhou will definitely be fine." "No, he must have said it in the letter." "I know, I'm not worried anymore, I'm just a little bit regretful. After all, this is our first year of marriage. Now I'm a little worried. What if he can't come back in time for the Chinese New Year? That would be such a pity." Chu Xia smiled sheepishly, "Am I being a little pretentious? No, if I get married, I will also look forward to celebrating the New Year with my husband. However, the customs are different in each place. Besides, customs are something that you either believe in or not. Don't think about it. Be happy. Yes, if you are unhappy, Uncle Baohe and Aunt Yulan are also unhappy, I can see it, can they not see it?" Hearing what Luo Xiaoxian said, Chu Xia quickly adjusted her emotions to prevent herself from wilting any more. She had to go to the operating table the next day. After dinner, Chu Xia chatted with everyone for a while, then went back to her room to sleep. When she woke up, she was a little thirsty, so she went downstairs to pour some water with a cup in hand. Suddenly, her waist tightened, and before she could recover, someone had already picked her up. She was so shocked that just when she was about to shout, her mouth was covered. "It's me." Zhou Mikang's voice was in her ear. Sounded. After her panic calmed down, Chu Xia pinched her and said vaguely, "Let go." Zhou Mikang quickly took away the hand covering her mouth. "I'm afraid you'll wake everyone up, haha." "Haha, your sisters haha." Chu Xia rolled her eyes at him, "You didn't write to me, didn't send me a telegram, didn't make a phone call, are you really just trying to surprise me when you come back suddenly?" "Yeah, how about it, any surprise?" "Not happy, only surprised." "Really not happy?" "Certainly." He entered the room muttering and put Chu Xia on the bed. Zhou Mikang grabbed the cup from her hand and said, "I'll pour you some water." "Tch." Chu Xia rolled his eyes, young guy, he could have poured the water directly and brought it back up just now, but he had to make one more trip. What is he if he wasn't a second-rate guy? "Are they all here?" After Zhou Mikang came back, Chu Xia quickly asked, "I mean, my brother and the others are also back?" "No, the main force should arrive in 2 days." "Are you being special again?" Chu Xia raised her middle finger at him with contempt, "My comrades must not look down on you, and Zhou Hanliang must also look down on you. If I don't do something special, why don't you die in a hurry?" Zhou Mikang stretched out his hand to lift her chin and looked at her. "Tell me, are you worried about me these days?" "You're being too sentimental, what's there to worry about?" Chu Xia's dead duck denied harshly. "Are you really not worried? Are you really not worried?" Thinking of her emotions these past few days, Chu Xia jumped up on him, stretched out her mouth and bit his face. "You are not allowed to do this again in the future, do you hear me?" "What are you asking?" Chu Xia was so angry that she poked someone who was giggling. "What's your expression? What's your attitude? Haha." Zhou Mikang laughed, "I'm thinking, are you finally willing to admit that you fall in love with me? Don't be so harsh, right?" "Yes." Chu Xia raised her eyebrows and looked at him, "I tell you, don't think this is a good thing. From now on, you will be labeled with my exclusive label. Except for work relationships, you are not allowed to joke with women other than your relatives. No, you must have a crush on women other than me, and you are not allowed to buy gifts for women other than your relatives. Can you do that?" "That's what I did originally. The original is the original, and the future is the future. Even after 3 years, 7 years, and 10 years, you must still hold yourself to this standard, otherwise, I will cut off your penis." Zhou Mikang had a black line on his head. "Chu Xia, Can we stop talking like this? Humph, that's what I think. Why don't you say so? Chu Xia reached out and pinched his face. Xiao Mimi, only by listening to me in the future can you have meat to eat, do you understand? Then I want to eat meat now, Zhou Mikang said, turning over and pressing her on the bed. Only then did someone realize that what he just said was too ambiguous, and he quickly defended himself. No, no, what I said about eating meat is the kind of meat you eat for meals. What I mean is that you listen to me, and I won't judge you living expenses. You misunderstood, really misunderstood. Then let's continue the misunderstanding. At this time, is it possible to resolve the misunderstanding with a man? Zhou Mikang, I must, rest well. Tomorrow I will have an independent operation, my first independent operation. Even though she was so emotional, Chu Xia still didn't forget her mission, panting and asking the other party. Report. Zhou Mikang chuckled in her ear, it's okay, I only want it once. Not only will you not be tired, but you will also be more energetic. Facts have proved that he is really a man with strong self-control. He only says it once, and he always pays attention to Chu Xia's reaction. When the other party climaxes, he quickly brings himself to the climax. Chu Xia was touched by his thoughtfulness, but she didn't know how to express it. Normally, he always wanted about an hour at a time, but today, he only wanted her for 20 minutes. She wanted to say that not letting him control her body would hurt too much, but it sounded like I'm not satisfied with my desire, but I want to have it again, so I don't want to talk about it, and I feel sorry for the other person. In this entanglement, no one knows when he fell asleep. It was rare that he was still with me when I woke up in the morning. Chu Xia glanced at the time and saw that it was already 6 in the morning. She looked at him with some confusion. Why didn't you go to morning exercise? Let me talk to you when you wake up. Zhou Mikang held her in his arms. Actually, when I came back last night, I could only leave because the mission was over. I didn't deliberately create surprises without telling you before, because I knew you would be worried. Are you saying that in addition to guarding the border, you have taken on other tasks? Chu Xia suddenly stood up. I know there are some things I can't ask, so I will just ask you, is there any danger? What nature can tell me?